flats, and it had been stripped on the inside, and was like being renovated, and was like about to be renovated and such. So it was like a proper building site on the inside, so perfect for us to stomp around in the basement of. And so I was getting proper excited about this, because we were going to do a basement drill. We're going to do basement drill, which is one of the hardest. One of the hardest drills, one of the hardest bits of work, because you have to use a larger hose. So you can't just use a regular hose. You have to use a hose that you wouldn't usually use when you're like breathing apparatus. So you're a firefighter, yeah. And I'm firefighter, and I've like as of Friday, I'm now fully trained. I'm not fully qualified, despite the fact that I've been, active duty for like 7 or 8 months now. Like it's a bit of a rolling process getting your training sorted and such. But I am fully trained, and I am now able to enter burning buildings. Actually, no. Well, I suppose I'm now able to enter burning buildings safely. Safer. But either way, so yeah, I was proper happy that we were doing a nice big breathing apparatus drill, and I was getting a bit nervous, because of course I've not done breathing apparatus outside of training and such. So I've only worn breathing apparatus with people on training and training exercise and such. And even though this was a training exercise, that these are much more experienced firefighters than me. So it's a bit nerve-wracking. And so they were kind of briefing us beforehand, and they were saying, so okay, so we're going to have 2 teams. Do they have to be burning, or can you enter not burning buildings? I can enter not burning buildings as well. I have been in a lot of not burning buildings as a firefighter. I've also been in some buildings that have been on fire, but not enough that they're filled with smoke. They're like it's like I'm now trained to enter irrespirable atmospheres, basically. So I can enter and explore, and like I'm trained to like find my way through smoke log and zero visibility and whatnot, and the correct search procedures for finding casualties, and how to get casualties out and whatnot, and how to get myself out. Almost like more important, like almost like as important, and also firefighting in a compartmental firefighting, as in fires that develop inside rooms, inside buildings, is so different than fires in every other fires inside buildings and inside compartments, inside rooms, are so different than fires in the open, fire like bonfires, wood fires, car fires, whatever. They act so different, and that requires like specialist training. So I've had that training now, and that's called compartment fire behavior theory, or CFBT. But anyway, what was I saying? We were having a drill. Which was going to involve going into the basement of this old pub, and searching for casualties, and managing a hose and whatnot. And they're like, okay, we're gonna have two breathing apparatus teams, so Alpha 1 and Alpha 2, and so I'm there thinking, good, that's good, because that means there'll be less like pressure on each individual team for this exercise. And then they're like, okay, so Alpha 1 will be Ben and Arvin. We're like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Like that makes sense. So they're like Ben and Arvin they're both fairly like Arvin's not that new, but he had to take like half a year off due to injury, and he's only just got his breathing apparatus ticket back. So it makes sense to put him like front and center in testing. And Ben's still quite new. And then like Alpha 2 will be Ross. I'm like, yep, Ross is my mentor at the station, so that makes sense. And Rupert. I'm like, oh. And then entry control officer. So the person who stands outside, monitors their air, and runs the radio and communicates. And entry control officer. So Baco will be Vicky. Now, you do need full breathing apparatus training to run entry control, to be entry control, to be Baco, BAECO, breathing apparatus entry control officer. But it was still a little bit disappointing, you know. And yeah, so like this is the Baco board, and this is